I think we are recording. Yes, we
Yeah.
are. This is an impromptu episode of the Founders Podcast, more of a video cast today. A lot has happened since the podcast series kicked off when we were in the ministry. I think about a month ago in the studio in London, and now a month later, we are in a completely different world. Right now. Everything's completely changed on its axis. So wanted to spend some time today, and if there's good reaction to this, make it more of a serialized bit of content around the state of play now for businesses in the UK, social media, and everything else. So yeah, it's great to have you again, Max, virtually.
Yeah. Well, I've got a busy schedule. I'm usually out and about, but I'll stay in today and speak to you. So, yes, I've got nothing else to do, mate. So I'll happily participate in this series. You've given me something to do this afternoon, so I'm happy with that.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. And I suppose where do we start, really? I think that we are have had to do a lot of searching in terms of like what we've got to do with our business, and we've had to make some stages and changes, and it's been a crazy month for us. So really, yeah, I mean, what's your high level view of what's happened in terms of the state of play now for, I suppose, small businesses? Talking quite broadly, small businesses in the UK at the moment. What's your thoughts on everything?
Well, I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on COVID-19 or even an expert in pandemics. I don't think anyone really has any proven answers as of now. I mean, we are obviously operating a small digital agency. So in terms of like how we've been able to adapt, I mean, there's definitely been some tactics that we've deployed. I mean, I've seen that from our point of view. I mean, because we are a social media agency, a lot of customers have realized that social is one of the few channels open. Like there's obviously you can't do like physical events, that's sort of been cut out. A lot of other channels that you may have done, whether it's like billboards or advertising at, I don't know, train stations, that's not really something that's going to generate results. So because social media is one of the channels that do still generate results and people are still flocking to, I think for us as an agency, we've luckily been well positioned to still maintain our operating, and if not actually win new business. But I think for a lot of companies, it's going to come down to, and small businesses, whether or not people are able to adapt their offering. And I think people need to realize that they need to focus a lot more on existing customers, as winning new businesses has become a lot harder. People's budgets are frozen and they'll continue to do work with their existing customers. So I think right now, agency owners and business owners need to be thinking about how can I overwhelm my customers with value when people's budgets for like new customer acquisition may have been frozen. So I think that's a few things that I've noticed and stuff that we've been thinking about and actioning with our customers. But definitely some businesses are going to be able to thrive in this landscape, and some are going to really struggle. If you're a small business doing and you have a hairdressers, for example, unless you're offering remote hairdressing or something like that, I don't know how you're going to adapt to it.
I think there is a massive, whether we like it or not, this is the digital. I think there's two massive drivers which I'm seeing in terms of like the macro movements of where business is going. I think the first one is localization. I think that's massive. If you are a bricks and mortar business, I think localization of supply chains is going to be absolutely huge after this. I think there's been massive disruption to like global supply chains and changing that. So if you're a small business and you're like my local shop, for example, is doing so great at the moment, they've never been busier because everyone is forced to basically, go right back in to their small physical community. But at the same time of that, there's this massive digital explosion. So you've got these dichotomies between, physical businesses which rely on very much local business. I think they're going to do really well. At the same time of that, you have digital businesses which are going to excel. So there are going to be some real, losses in this change. And I'm quite I think that recessions are a natural part of the business cycle. I think this would be a particularly bad recession based on all the feedback. The IMF said yesterday that this would be a depression era event. And I know a lot of people that I listen to say the same thing, who are far more qualified to talk about this than I am. But having said that, there's tremendous opportunity. And we are, as a company, doing a lot of stuff for businesses, but also for people, and to prepare them for this recession. And we've called this series Recession Proof because I'm very passionate about telling people that, these macro movements of like localization and digitalization are so important. And if you're an individual, I'm very, I'm shouting from the rooftops that you have to be now digitally focused. It has to be a massive part of your business assets, but also your personal assets in terms of brand. So what do you think about
I think you right now need to be developing your digital skills. Like, you need to be skilling yourself up to be able to compete in a digital era. And that's, you're going to have the skills in order to compete, but the landscape's going to get a lot more competitive. So for example, like Google AdWords, as an example, there's probably thousands, tens of thousands of people who can offer that skill, both in the UK and worldwide. But now people who are running online businesses, they're going to need, there's still going to be demand for that skill. There's not going to be so much demand for like physical print, for example. So it's going to get way more competitive when the new flood of, because even if you learn those digital skills, you're going to be competing. There's going to be fewer customers, if you see what I mean, who are going to need those digital skills, but there's going to be more suppliers of those digital skills. So the quality is going to get really competitive. But in order to even compete and get into the competition, you're going to have the skills. But when you're actually in there and competing for the work, then you have to be top of your game. So it's going to be tough either way. I don't think there's any easy answer or easy route. It's going to be hard, whatever outcome, but in order to even have a chance, you're going to have to skill yourself up and to be able to compete in this new landscape.
I think, I think they're there, but I think that, like you made a good point, the basics now are digital skills. And I think that whoever you are now, if you're not seriously thinking about, this pandemic event has exposed the massive weaknesses in traditional businesses that don't rely on digital. If you're not local, if your business at the moment, you're not local to your client base, like super local, you can't walk to them and stuff, or if you are a business which relies on passing trade in terms of cars or traditional advertising, you don't have that digital infrastructure to protect yourself, then you're in big trouble. And we had an events business. We had a face, and I'm not talking like I'm some kind of, it's all right for you to say. We had a physical bricks and mortar to some degree. We had venues, we had a whole real life infrastructure, which overnight has been completely gone. Basically, I'm not forecasting for any events for the rest of the year, because I just don't feel comfortable or confident, based on my research, that we're going to return to a degree of, things won't be as bad as this. Sure, we'll be allowed out and there'll be some kind of relaxation. I'm not saying you're not going to be locked in the house. You can't lock everyone in for the whole year. It'd be ridiculous. But the appetite for corporate events this year, maybe I'm wrong, but I can't see it happening. It's not work. That's why we're digitalizing our whole thing. We're digitalizing, we're putting it all online. I think that's what we're doing.
I think people and companies need to build resiliency into their operations, and now to be able to operate without physical contact. So, for example, if any event that happens, whether it's like, I don't know, the Olympics, or whether or not it's one of like our social media events, they need to be able to switch on a virtual experience to be able to ensure that there's no disruption. So, because if you could live stream events and it's okay, the event's been cancelled, obviously there's social distancing has been locked on again. Then you could be like, fine, we can then go into our virtual experience. Then you don't lose revenue. You can still go ahead with the event. Same as schools. Schools need to be able to have in the infrastructure the ability to go digital and go virtual at a moment's notice. So, and people need to be able to adapt to that, because people now you can work at home. You can be even more productive working at home if you get it right, and you can still learn at home. You can still attend events at home. You can do anything that you want. But I think businesses, events, and people need to be able to switch on a digital experience
100%.
at a moment's notice, and that's where the growth is.
It doesn't matter, because if you run them incongruently, you only win by having digital as well as physical.
Yeah.
So I always ask people, what do you have to lose? Just say that I'm wrong, we're wrong, and everything goes back to normal next month. We haven't lost anything, because we've got a digital version of our events. So actually, you don't lose anything by having a digital experience and having a face-to-face. Like you literally, it's a win-win, and you build resiliency in your business. And there's going to be a scarring, I think, of people. People are going to be scarred from this whole experience. You can't do this to the whole world and expect everyone just to continue on like normal. Home working now, in the past, working from home was a bit like, okay, we'll work from home. It was kind of a bit like, still a bit of a blag where I'll work from home. Now, it's normal. You can't, someone says I work from home, you can't be like, why aren't you in the office? The whole thing's changed now from this event. And it's going to have massive ramifications. And I think virtual experiences are going to become absolutely huge. And we don't know if this will happen again. Who knows if this might happen again in 2 years' time. You've got businesses who've invested loads of money into sponsorship and expos and hundreds of thousands of pounds. This risk play is now in their heads. What if there's another pandemic? What about our spend? So I just think it's a no-brainer. And I think it takes events like this, and I was guilty of it. We weren't pushing virtual events enough, I don't think. And I've learned, actually, if we do virtual, we get the best of both worlds. And I think in terms of like personal brand and social, within a caveat of that, I think it's just a no-brainer now to be like heavy on LinkedIn, like doubling down on LinkedIn, not only because of the events, but also the economic circumstances at the moment. You have to be on social media. You have to be getting these connections. You have to be having these conversations, because at the moment, LinkedIn, particularly in our world, LinkedIn, that's the only game in town. In terms of actual, if you're someone who's trying to get new business or prospecting in the B2B world, where else are you going to do it?
Yeah, it's definitely a generation-defining experience, and there's definitely opportunities within it, and I think there's going to be some definite winners. And I hope, I still do like physical events. Like I do like meeting people. I do long to go to a physical event, so hopefully they will bounce back. But to caveat that, they would ideally have a digital aspect where you can subscribe online, you can digest the content without being there. And if we can do that, then the nation and the world is better positioned to stomach any sort of threat. And even if there was, even if it's not pandemic, even if it was like a crisis, I don't know, any crisis, whether it's war or I don't, get into extremes. But if you can still be able to work without a physical, not being tied to it physically, the whole economy is much better positioned to weather any storm, whether it is disease, whether it's conflict, whether it's anything. We will be better positioned to do it, and we could potentially work more efficiently as well.
Well, and I think there's got to be this question which hangs over people's heads, especially in the business world. Do you think there'll still be, it's a general question, I don't know, do you think that there'll be a repressed appetite to do more face-to-face stuff after this? Or do you think that this event will make people think twice about saying, we were going to fly out 10 people to Nevada or Dallas to do this conference, but we don't, as we've seen in COVID, we don't actually have to do that. Why don't we send 2 people and the other 6 can just zoom in with like virtual meetings? Do you feel like this event will suppress and it explode? People want to do loads more events, or do you feel like this will actually permanently reduce like face-to-face meetings and contact within the B2B world?
Yeah, I don't think anybody knows really. I mean, it could go either way. Who knows what the mindset of the world will be after this is over? I mean, it's not the first pandemic. Obviously, like when there was the Ebola outbreak, or through history there's been like the Spanish flu. I mean, we don't look back 100 years at the Spanish flu and think, oh, what if there's another flu outbreak? Not going to do any physical events. I mean, people get over it, people do forget, and people move on. So I think that, I don't know. I mean, I don't even know. I mean, I couldn't even pretend. I couldn't even pretend to know. I don't know what's gonna happen, if there will be appetite or not. Who knows?
Well, I just think, I think that if you combine the obviously that we are entering a recession, and it's pretty much confirmed, people look to cut spend, and digital. If you're transitioning away from physical events and moving to virtual experiences, if you're transitioning away from like traditional sales processes and moving to a more digitalized future where content is seen as much more of a sales thing. For example, you could upload some video content, some interviews, some insights from your team, host that on your site, have it tracked, have the analytics, have a automated sequence of emails which is tracked back to social, all done virtually? Or do you just pull the plug out from that and do everything traditional where you're flying people out, you're meeting them face to face, you're giving them a business card? I personally don't know. I'm not an expert at all, but my hunch is that I feel like we are not coming back from this. We're going to swing back slightly. We're going to swing back to, of course, events will still take place. Of course, we'll still do things, but this is going to, I think, permanently move the axis towards mass digitalization. And people aren't aware of the opportunities, man. Because like, if you're, just say you're someone on maternity leave, historically, you basically have to take that time off. But now, when we move into this new era, I think we'll unlock so many more people into the workforce. Elderly people who can't come into work, who commute too much, mothers of children, or fathers of young families. I think this actually opens up the employment market to so many more people than it did previously.
You could be right on that. And I think, back to your point of things like business cards, for example, like, it's definitely a generational thing. Like me and you, for example, when we go to meetings, rarely give out business cards, but then obviously the baby boomers, you guys out there, that's definitely more of your sort of domain, whereas millennials will just connect with people on LinkedIn. So there's definitely going to be some stuff that was happening already. So it's going to be speeded up. Like, I think now people, stuff like, obviously at Social Tree, we've always done flexible working since the beginning, but so many companies out there just didn't do it. And for some people that could just seem like, oh, well, everyone already does it. But actually, I don't know what the latest stats are, if it's the majority of companies who have flexible working or the minority, I don't know. But but what will be sure is that I think every company will have a move to more flexible working. Like I said, unlocking people in the workforce, and things that were going to happen is going to be speeded up: digital transformation, social transformation. And if you can be a part of that, it's going to be, you're going to be one of the winners. And
what's your advice to people then? Because we've spoken very much a bubble. I think a bubble of real privilege, because we already are digital already, like technology.
Yeah.
But just say you now theoretically ran a cafe, okay? And you're not the type of person just to say, I'm going to give up. And you wouldn't do that. It's not in your DNA to say, I'm just going to give up. Because you've got family, you have... So what would be your playbook? I know it's a ridiculous question. But what things would you do, and what things would you advise people to do? Say, look, all right, you guys saying you got
Yeah.
digitalized. I run a bar or I run a cafe. How am I
I,
going to make
I,
ends?
I myself am actually desperate for coffee. Like I long for like a Starbucks coffee or a Costa coffee or Cafe Nero. Like the home coffee is okay. Like it's just not the same. But if Cafe Nero had an app where I could order coffee to my house, or they came through the streets with, like with some coffee
Yeah,
that we deliver. Yeah, like like a bike, like how you get all the takeaways. If
yeah,
they just were able to like go on a route through the towns, like an ice cream van or something like that, where you could order it online through an app and order it to your house, mate, I would buy that. I don't know if it would be a successful business model or not. I don't know. But all I can say is that I personally would buy it. So if there's anyone out there who's got a coffee shop who wouldn't mind driving through Red Hill, I will buy that coffee. I promise you, I'm desperate for a proper cup of coffee. And I assure you that I would not be alone. So that's my advice. I will be your first customer. Hit me up.
so you're saying if you had a cafe, would you just do an ordering service then?
Yeah, ordering service through
You
online, buy my
get an
large
app and
black
yeah,
Americano. Yeah, like an app. Like Deliveroo, they do that already, don't they?
yeah,
You remember you can order Starbucks already to your office. So like Deliveroo probably already do that.
yeah,
Um, Takeout. But I mean, like the still part that's missing is the experience, because it's just not the same. Like me having a coffee at home and going to a cafe,
yeah,
like there is an experience
yeah.
element to it that is different. That I just don't think. Obviously, you can move to virtual, but there is something that just cannot replace it. That's the thing.
Yeah, and I feel like there are certain industries which is you cannot. It is so hard to digitalize some things like the experience economy, like going to a cafe. Like a part of the reason you go to cafe is because you like the noise, the
Yeah,
ambience, and stuff.
that's right. And also, my father-in-law, he's a gardener. So good luck me trying to say to him like, oh yeah, digitalize your gardening. Like, just be digital. Like, what's he gonna see? Tell me to stay off? Like, how can I? The tree's got. I've got to cut the tree. I can't. How am I going to digitalize it?
It's,
And
a,
unless,
it's really hard to. I think I think there are certain things you just can't replace, like travel, for example. You can't
yeah,
digitalize travel. You need to
yeah,
physically be made to be.
yeah. Humans need to be outdoors and they need to be in touch with the real world. I mean, like we're not programmed. Like we need to feel the grass, and we need to be actually outside and like
And
human
there is
interaction.
there's a certain when you meet someone face to face, you really do get to know them better. You see,
Yeah.
there's a whole like sort of what's the word? Like primal thing about meeting someone
Mm.
face to face.
Yeah.
Shaking their hand, even though
Yeah.
now we can't really do. They say
Yeah.
handshaking won't exist or be frowned upon. Shaking hands because
Yeah.
it's this weird practice we've got. Oh, let's shake. I'll shake your hand. Do we have to
Yeah.
handshake?
Yeah.
What's the future of that? So
So,
I just don't know what. Who knows what's going to happen? All I do know is that next month, I think the flowment thing that stuff ends next month. Flowing.
yeah.
The next thing in my head is what's the exit strategy after this? Because you're going to have loads of people coming to the end of their flowment. So what happens after that? Like no one knows. The government hasn't told us. I have no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
It's complete chaos, really.
We as a business have not at this stage, and it could go wrong, but at the moment we haven't furloughed anyone. We haven't actually made like any significant losses, and
So,
although we have lost some customers, the ones that where our solution was really working for them, they have doubled down on that. So we have been able to weather the storm better than most companies, but I just think that it's because we are social anyway. We are part of the move to the future, so we are positioned to survive it. Not everyone just needs to, I think, realize like what is the future and how can they be a part of it. And some people, unfortunately, they're what they're offering won't be part of the future, and then that'll just have to be a case of reskilling to find something that will be in demand. But this thing will be over and people will get over it. I mean, we've got over you know, World War II, we got over the plague. Like, there's been such mass problems in society that happens every century, and each time we've got over it. You know, so I think humans will forget about. We've got a short attention span, humans. I'm sure we'll forget about it. We'll be shaking hands. We'll be hugging, perhaps rejoicing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I'm looking forward to the post lockdown, like partying or like
Yeah,
going out on down a pub or something. Because like
yeah,
when this thing ends, man, a
yeah,
lot of people are going to be ready to just get so
yeah,
battered. It will be chaos. I think
yeah.
the first day after lockdown, everyone's going to run straight to the pub. I think. And then
Yeah.
you'll have, the problem is you'll have loads of new infections, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Everyone was like, everyone goes, "Hey!" and
Yeah.
then I think that's the balancing act. That's why
Yeah.
I can't, we're not going to return to normal after June. We're going to
Mm.
we're going to be in this weird, I went to the shop the other day and there's people turning away from me. Like this woman, she was like,
Yeah.
she turned away from me.
Yeah, that's normal anyway, isn't it?
Yeah,
I thought that's pretty much everyone's.
it was crazy seeing her because I was like,
Yeah,
what is this doing to our society? People
yeah,
are just facing the wall to avoid social
yeah,
distancing. Like,
yeah.
and like, I was thinking, how is this? We can't just snap back to normal after this. Oh, we
Yeah.
will reopen. It's
Well, I
just,
think I don't know. I mean, like, even if you look at, like, again, going back to extreme examples like World War II, like the whole of you know, the whole of London was bombed to splifferiens, mate. Like the whole country was bombed to high heaven. Like, it returned to normal.
it
Even
took,
after the Spanish flu, it returned to normal.
yeah, it took time. I'm just saying, I know
Took
it
time.
will,
Yeah.
but to expect my thesis, it's not my thesis, but my thing to all small business owners is you cannot expect things to go back to normal in June.
Yeah.
If there's any, like, I know Donald Trump saying we'll reopen and everything's going to be great, everything. I think I personally think there's no point in speculating. We're not returning to normal in June, and I think until January of next year there will be some kind of disruption, and you just got to get used to it, and that's going to involve social distancing, and I think a big way, if I was someone who was not in social media, who was concerned about the future, I would now be doubling down in this time of furloughment, trying to work out and navigate a path which has this social distancing as a reality until next year, and then taking it from there. There's a certain amount you can't control, and that's what we're doing. And we have the webinar, Recession Proof webinar, which is going to give everyone free of charge some of our insights into LinkedIn profile building, particularly thought leadership, because we've done this for so many people over the years. So should be a good opportunity, I think, for people to learn a bit more about LinkedIn and the power of LinkedIn, and what they can do to optimize their profile so they are online. Because I really do want to help people. You see, I want to, what little I can do in terms of like the help, I feel like that's the best way of us helping, I think, is actually going, well, let's take you through some of our basics, and this is what we recommend, this is how we do it, this is what thought leadership means practically, so more people are online. And if we do our bit, then I think we'll bounce back a lot quicker than if everyone doesn't reach out and at least try and help.
Amen to that, James. I think that's a great summary there, and looking forward to the recession-proof webinars to learn from each other as well. It'd be great to meet other people and see how they're adapting. I don't think anyone has the answers, but social media is our domain. That's the one thing we can offer help on. And yes, I look forward to the webinars.
Yeah, mate, you better watch out, because I'm trying to take you out, you see. So you can attend recession-proof webinar, because I'm trying to do a coup, so just
great. Brilliant. Well, I will look out for that virtual coup. And cheers. Thanks for that, James. That's Great, mate.
Well, yeah, thanks, mate. Well, I think we'll hopefully get your dialogue going. And yeah, I'll put the details of the webinar somewhere in this dialogue in the comments box. But yeah, looking forward to meeting some of you there. Stay safe, everyone, and I'll speak to you guys soon.